Imagine you're a factory worker in the late 1800s and you come home after a long day of work, clean up, and sit at the dinner table with your wife and kids. You notice through the window there's a guy out on the street and he's taking notes and he's looking into your window. He runs away when you notice him. Then imagine next day that guy who is a spy goes and sits down with all of the powerful employers in your town, all of the factory owners, and he shares notes on you. You see, it turns out you were talking about some unpatriotic things at the dinner table last night. And because of that, you've been blacklisted from the industry. Now you can no longer get a job at any other factory. If you're fired, you are out of work permanently. This is called blacklisting. It became so pervasive during major workplace strikes in the late 1800s that the government actually made laws to prevent it. It's illegal now. And yet, that is exactly what Workday is doing. If you have applied for a job in the last few years using Workday software, you'd know it because any of those job applications you have to do with Workday are a huge hassle. They're the type where you have to punch in all of your experience by hand after uploading the resume. Well, it turns out they've been blacklisting people. If you've gotten an instant rejection, despite the fact that you were at least minimally qualified for a job you've applied for, there's reason to believe you may have been blacklisted from that job. We're going to get into it today. Let's first talk about the inciting event. Meet Derek Mobley, the 40-year-old African-American, U.S. citizen, and he has a disability. Between 2017 and 2023, he applied for over 100 jobs. And what happened when he applied for those jobs? He got rejected every single time. Does that sound familiar if you're working in tech right now? He got rejected every single time, not a single interview. He sued Workday. You may think that's a conspiracy theory. Let me explain. He noticed that he would receive a rejection email from a job in as little as 55 minutes after applying. The real smoking gun came when he applied for a job at around 1 a.m. and he got a rejection for this job at 1:50 a.m., less than an hour after submission in the middle of the night. You can dig into the court documents here. This one, document 60-1, has a ton of information about the exact timing of rejections. So what is happening if you don't have some kind of speed-addled recruiter online at 1 a.m.? What is happening? Why is your application being rejected? And the answer is it's being screened and rejected by an algorithm. Here's what really happened behind closed doors. Workday's AI for screening applications was trained on historical data. Now, we all know that there's some problems with historical data. Before a lot of laws were in place, people with disabilities were treated very unfairly. Minorities may have been treated very unfairly, depending on how far you go back. Women in the workplace, etc. It goes on down the line. And we've seen this with the pay gap between different demographic groups of people. Historical data is not a good thing to train your AI job screening logic on because it has bias embedded into the historical data. And yet that's what they did to automate this process at scale because it was convenient. We have here a direct quote from the lawsuit. Workday's software is not simply implementing in a rote way the criteria that employers set forth, but it is instead participating in the decision-making process by recommending some candidates to move forward and rejecting others like Derek Mobley, like you. And a lot of the times we have a corrupt judge, but it looks like we have a stand-up person. Judge Lynn denied Workday's motion to dismiss Mobley's disparate impact claims, allowing the case to proceed on the theory that Workday could be held liable as a quote-unquote agent of the employers who rejected Mobley's applications. They should be held accountable for this. This was in response to Workday's weak argument that we're just a tool provider, which really reeks of the Nazis after World War II saying we were just following orders. Judge Lynn's response, rejected. We will go forward with this case. And to make matters worse for Workday, still not bad as they deserve. On May 16th, Judge Lynn granted preliminary certification for a class action suit. Individuals that were 40 plus who applied via Workday from September 24th, get this, 2020 to present. That's a lot of people can now tag up on this class action lawsuit. As it turns out, even the government thinks that Workday is being dishonest. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission told the court that Workday is an employment agency under federal law. They could be liable for Title VII, ADEA, and ADA violations. So the government's position is this is systematic discrimination. But wait, there's more. Redditors are wrong as usual, defending the administration, defending the powers that be. Let's look at this post that aged really, really badly from 9 months ago. And somebody on the recruiting subreddit asks, is Workday illegally sharing data or blacklisting? And they're talking about a candidate suggesting that he applied to Workday to over 100 different employers. Maybe they're talking about Derek Mobley here. That would be crazy foreshadowing. And not a single one went through, or that he got the call, and accusing them of blacklisting. Groupthink individuals that they are all come out in defense of the big giga corporation. No, every company buys and customizes its own Workday tenant and candidate info, blah, blah, blah. This would be a nightmare from a legal and technical perspective. That's not how Workday works. Even if an employer tags a candidate as do not hire, that cannot be seen by any other employer. Workday does not share data or blacklist. Every company which purchases blah, 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 blah. I cannot spend too much time on Reddit. It's just an intellectual vacuum over there. And boy, did this age poorly. Enter this little known company. You've probably never heard of it, but they certainly know about you. They've seen your data when applying for jobs. HiredScore AI, the recruiter's assistant, with a cute little octopus logo here. And it's basically a technology that was developed to save recruiters and hiring managers the pesky and time-consuming task of treating job applicants like human beings and actually reviewing their resumes. Instead, they've delegated that off to AI. Now, HiredScore was acquired in 2024 by Workday. Although they have tried to scrub the web of this information, probably because of the lawsuit, there are documents proving old promotional material for HiredScore that they perform something called, quote unquote, candidate rediscovery, which is the rebrand of the century. And basically that means it's going to surface past applicants for new roles. So company A uses Workday, company B uses Workday. They both use HiredScore inside of Workday because it's part of Workday now. They have separate data. There was some shred of truth to what those Redditors were saying. You have a Workday tenant for this company, company B, Workday tenant for company A. Their data is siloed. It is separate. But HiredScore is trained on 1.1 billion rejected applications across both employers, across both company A, company B, and every other company that's using it. In a page that will probably be scrubbed from the web if this video does any traffic, we can see a pitch for HiredScore AI. It ranks applicants based on job relevance and historical success signals. So if they're strong fit past applicants, it's going to bump them up the list. And presumably, if they got rejected for certain reasons, it's going to be trained on that data too. They're not advertising it, but they're not just going to get rid of that data. That's data for the machine to train on that's going to save again recruiters and other personnel ingesting the resumes, the time and emotional expense of treating applicants like human beings. Same AI, different employer, same outcome. Something else that raises some eyebrows is your background check also flows through Workday. Workday integrates with background check providers that has a bunch of personally identifying information about you, your education history, your employment history, your zip code and previous zip codes, who you were married to. You can see right here, they integrate with background check vendors. So the implication is that if a background check flags Mobley for any reason, that he's been battling with anxiety and depression, that he's seen a psychiatrist, and that's not a desirable thing to have for an employer, and Workday integrates the data, does it follow him across employers? I hope this is going to come out in the open soon because I would love to know. And even worse than that is, could that background check information be used to infer other characteristics about somebody, including age, race, demographic information from, older zip code patterns, what college did they go to, and corresponding that with the likely age that they would have attended to derive the age of the candidate, which is very illegal. And what about employment gaps? Layoffs are everywhere right now, and you can now be discriminated against for those layoffs. If you see those gaps, maybe the AI is trained that that's a problematic job history. This person's been out of work. Again, it all comes back to this idea of not treating the recruiting and hiring process, not treating the applicants like humans. All of those things have a story. We're not just numbers on a screen, we're human beings. The lawsuit doesn't directly prove this is happening. I want to be clear about that, but the architecture allows it. And I hope that they dig into this over the course of the case. And for my money, this raises the biggest question the lawsuit hasn't answered yet. If the algorithm can learn your age from your resume and reject you across employers, what else can it learn and act on? Hired scores, success signals, as they call them, are not publicly disclosed. What are they derived from? What are they hiding there? What is a success signal? And conversely, what is a failure signal? Do they include personality assessments? What about LinkedIn profile analysis and social media analysis to suss out your beliefs and political leanings? The court found that Mobley was rejected 100 plus times in minutes, but the court never asked what was the algorithm actually scoring him on. And I'd like to believe that this is why Judge Lynn kept the case alive, is to dig into this sufficiently. The American people deserve to know, especially with rampant layoffs, especially with the fact that we still have a thriving H-1B program, despite the fact that many Americans, skilled Americans, are out of work. And if anyone tells you otherwise, ask around the tech industry. This is not a huge secret. And again, I will take you back to the public view of recruiters using Reddit on the recruiting subreddit. We can scroll down here. Everyone categorically denies that this is happening as of 9 months ago. There's no way, haha. No, the cost to a company on reputation and legal grounds far outweighs the potential benefit for quote unquote blacklisting a specific candidate across a platform. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're being rejected because you suck at your job and you need to get good. You need to work 80 hours a week. You need to have a side hustle or else we're not going to hire you. You need to say the correct things politically. You need to be politically aligned with us. You cannot say controversial things that will affect your employment. This is more than a job. We're a family here. Who's actually responsible if this lawsuit goes tits up for Workday? Workday, of course, is going to be liable, but also it's clear that the software companies will be liable for this as well, specifically for discrimination by taking part in this knowingly. As of July 2025, hired score was also added to the lawsuit, which is good news. We're on the right path. It's proving that companies cannot hide behind biased AI. If the AI is wrong and they use the AI, they are on the hook for this. This could make Google's location tracking lawsuit that was $392 million, the Facebook privacy settlement at $5 billion look like small potatoes. So I have an unusual call to action for you. If you are 40 years of age or older and you've been rejected by Workday in the past 4 years, you might have a case. The opt-in process is open right now. I have some Forbes coverage on it here, and I will put a link to this in the video description. You should definitely check up on it, see if you can get added to the class. You can check Court Listener for docket updates. You can have AI summarize them for you and make them digestible, even if you're not a lawyer, as I am not. This is a big case, and I am happy to cover it on the channel. American workers deserve a fair shot at highly skilled labor that they are at least minimally qualified for, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of disability, regardless of mental health condition, regardless of political leaning or personal opinion. This is blacklisting, plain and simple, just like it was in the late 1800s with factory workers. Please share this video to somebody if you think they may have been affected by this. I want to hear about it in your comments below. What do you think they're basing these hiring and firing decisions on? And if you found this helpful, subscribe for future coverage of this case. Thank you for watching.